The Bronx drill scene has been rocked to its core, and at the center of the chaos is DOA, once considered untouchable, now facing an unraveling that no one saw coming. Headlines are screaming about snitches, RICO charges, and shocking betrayals, but the full story behind the downfall of one of Bronx drill's biggest crews is far more twisted and intense than the public realizes. For years, DOA built a reputation for loyalty, dominance, and street credibility, cementing themselves as one of the most influential forces in the Bronx music scene. But as law enforcement scrutiny intensified, the very foundations that gave them power started to crumble. At the heart of this story is K-Flock, whose meteoric rise was tied to the crew's influence and dominance in the drill world. But with fame came exposure, and with exposure came pressure. Insiders report that the tension wasn't just on the streets, it was in every studio session, every public appearance, and even in private interactions among members. Trust, the glue that held the crew together, began to fray under the weight of legal investigations, rivalries, and the constant scrutiny of the media. Snitching allegations, in particular, sent shockwaves through the group. Members who were once considered untouchable found themselves under investigation, and whispers of betrayal spread like wildfire. These revelations didn't just threaten individual members, they threatened the entire organization. RICO charges loomed, promising to dismantle decades of influence and street authority in one sweeping legal action. For fans and critics alike, the scene's biggest names were suddenly facing a reality where loyalty and reputation could no longer shield them from consequences. But beyond the legal drama, there's a deeper story about the culture, music, and personal choices that led to this downfall. The Bronx drill scene isn't just about music, it's about influence, hierarchy, and survival. DOA's story is a cautionary tale about how quickly power can shift, how fragile loyalty can be, and how one wrong move can change everything. In this video, we're breaking down every angle, from K-Flock's rise and his connection to the crew, to the snitches that shook the streets, to the RICO investigation threatening to wipe out the organization entirely. By the end, you'll understand why DOA's downfall isn't just news. It's the end of an era, and the ripple effects are still being felt across the Bronx drill scene. Buckle up, because this is the inside story fans never got to see. The rise, the chaos, and the collapse of a crew that once seemed untouchable. The rise of DOA in the Bronx drill scene was nothing short of meteoric. For years, they operated as a tightly-knit group, commanding respect both on the streets and in the music world. Their influence was visible in every corner of the Bronx drill movement, from the beats dominating local radio to the viral videos circulating on social media. At the center of this empire was K-Flock, a rising star whose energy, lyrical skill, and street credibility made him the face of a generation. Together, the members of DOA cultivated a reputation for loyalty, fearlessness, and dominance, traits that cemented their status as one of the most significant crews in modern drill music. Fans who followed their trajectory witnessed a series of impressive accomplishments. Tracks released by the crew routinely amassed millions of streams, and their music videos showcased the culture, attitude, and style that defined Bronx drill. Every song seemed to reinforce their presence and influence, signaling to rivals and fans alike that DOA was not just a group, but a force to be reckoned with. Social media further amplified their reach, and with each viral moment, their reputation grew, attracting both attention and scrutiny. It was a delicate balance of street credibility and mainstream visibility, one that required careful navigation to maintain. But behind the music and the public persona, tensions began to simmer. Sources close to the crew reveal that internal dynamics were shifting as the members faced increasing pressure from both law enforcement and rival crews. What once was a united front started showing cracks. Every public appearance, studio session, and interaction with outsiders became a calculated move. Loyalty, once an unquestioned foundation, started facing tests, and whispers of betrayal began to circulate. In the world of drill, trust is everything, and even the smallest lapse can trigger cascading consequences. Legal pressure also began creeping in. Law enforcement had taken notice of DOA's influence, not only for their musical prominence but for alleged involvement in street activity that crossed into criminal investigations. While fans largely saw the group through the lens of music and performance, authorities were monitoring patterns, connections, and behaviors that suggested a much larger network. The possibility of serious charges loomed on the horizon, threatening to dismantle everything the crew had built. K-Flock, as the most visible member, faced the dual burden of fame and responsibility. Every move he made was under the microscope, from his public appearances to his online posts. Observers say he was acutely aware that the crew's survival depended on maintaining loyalty, discretion, and strategy at all times. This tension between maintaining dominance and avoiding legal exposure defined the atmosphere of DOA in their final days as a cohesive unit. The first signs that DOA's empire was beginning to crumble appeared quietly but with devastating consequences. Sources close to the crew report that tensions began surfacing during routine studio sessions and casual hangouts, moments that, to outsiders, seemed ordinary. Yet inside the crew, trust was fraying. Allegations of disloyalty and whispers of cooperation with law enforcement began circulating, creating an atmosphere of suspicion. Every interaction was now measured. Words were chosen carefully, glances were scrutinized, and loyalties were silently tested. The very foundation of the group, once built on unwavering trust, was starting to show cracks that would eventually widen into irreparable splits. Snitches, both confirmed and rumored, became a central point of fear. Members who had previously operated with impunity were now hyper-aware that every conversation, every interaction, could have consequences. In the drill world, reputation isn't just about music, it's survival. The whispers of betrayal didn't just threaten individual members, they threatened the stability of the crew itself. It was a precarious position. Any wrong move could trigger arrests, internal conflict, or even violent retaliation. The paranoia and caution that set in were palpable, even among the most seasoned members. Meanwhile, law enforcement's interest in the crew intensified. Reports indicate that authorities were monitoring connections, movements, and associations in an effort to build a RICO case capable of dismantling DOA entirely. For a group that had thrived on visibility, street credibility, and networked influence, this was a direct threat to everything they had constructed. Meetings that were once casual and strategic now carried. K-Flock, as the group's most visible face, bore the brunt of both attention and responsibility. He reportedly spent hours managing relationships within the crew, ensuring that tensions didn't boil over while simultaneously maintaining the public persona that fueled their fame. This dual role, both leader and mediator, put immense stress on him, as every decision carried potential consequences for both his personal freedom and the survival of the crew. Even minor disagreements were now fraught with risk, and every choice could trigger a domino effect of legal or social repercussions. At the same time, external rivalries amplified the internal stress. Competing crews, aware of DOA's influence, sought to exploit the cracks within the group. Feuds and challenges were no longer just musical. They were strategic, targeting relationships, alliances, and vulnerabilities within the crew. These external pressures compounded the fear already growing internally, making each day unpredictable and dangerous. In this period, the seeds of DOA's downfall were firmly planted. Internal mistrust, combined with the looming threat of RICO charges and rival aggression, created a perfect storm. The crew that once appeared untouchable began showing signs of fragility, and the actions taken in these critical weeks would define whether DOA survived as a unit or disintegrated entirely. The RICO investigation marked a turning point in the collapse of DOA, transforming whispers of betrayal and internal tension into a full-blown legal nightmare. Law enforcement sources, speaking to insiders, confirmed that months of surveillance, informants, and evidence gathering culminated in a case designed to dismantle the Q entirely. For a group whose power relied heavily on loyalty, influence, and visibility, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Suddenly, members who once moved with confidence found themselves questioning every alliance, every conversation, and even their day-to-day routines. The streets that once felt familiar now carried a sense of danger. and the reality of legal exposure hung over the crew like a dark cloud. K-Flock, as the public face of DOA, faced particular scrutiny. Authorities focused not only on his actions but also on his connections, hoping to link him to the broader network under investigation. Every post online, every public appearance, and every studio session was now analyzed for potential evidence. This heightened attention created an environment where paranoia was unavoidable. Members began second-guessing each other, unsure who could be trusted, and alliances that once felt solid now wavered under the pressure of possible arrests and criminal charges. Meanwhile, reports of snitches shook the crew to its core. Allegations surfaced that certain members were cooperating with law enforcement, offering testimony in exchange for reduced sentences or immunity. Whether true or exaggerated, the rumors created an atmosphere of suspicion and fear. Friends turned cautious, group interactions became formal and guarded, and informal hangouts that once reinforced solidarity were replaced with strategic, calculated meetings. This erosion of trust was devastating for a crew that had long prided itself on loyalty and collective strength. The legal implications of the RICO case were profound. Unlike typical criminal charges, RICO allows authorities to pursue entire organizations, linking individuals' actions to broader patterns of activity. For DOA, this meant that even minor involvement could carry major consequences. Each member's past behavior was scrutinized, from recorded studio sessions to street interactions, and nothing was considered insignificant. Members quickly realized that what was once a tight-knit and seemingly untouchable crew was now vulnerable to systematic dismantling. At the same time, rival crews capitalized on the chaos. They saw the cracks within DOA and moved strategically, exploiting perceived weaknesses to assert dominance in the Bronx drill scene. Every feud, confrontation, and rivalry took on new weight, as the internal instability of DOA made it harder to respond cohesively. Public perception began to shift as well. Fans who once idolized the crew began questioning the unity and credibility of a group seemingly unraveling before their eyes. Even within private circles, tension was at its peak. K-Flock and other core members worked tirelessly to maintain order, but the combination of legal pressure, internal suspicion, and external threats made stability nearly impossible. Every decision carried risk, and every interaction could be interpreted as either loyalty or betrayal. The once untouchable crew now faced an unpredictable environment where one misstep could bring catastrophic consequences. As DOA's legal troubles intensified, the crew's internal fractures became impossible to ignore. What had started as whispers of disloyalty now erupted into outright confrontations and mistrust. Members who once operated with confidence began scrutinizing one another, questioning motivations, and weighing every interaction for potential risk. Sources close to the group describe an environment where casual conversations were rare, replaced instead by guarded exchanges, coded language, and strategic planning. Every move had to be measured, because the combination of law enforcement scrutiny and internal suspicion meant that a single misstep could lead to arrest or the loss of credibility. The impact of RICO charges on the crew cannot be overstated. Unlike individual criminal cases, RICO allows authorities to target entire organizations, linking seemingly separate incidents into a comprehensive pattern of criminal activity. For DOA, this meant that every connection, every association, and even minor incidents from the past could be used against them. Members who had previously felt untouchable suddenly faced the terrifying reality that their past could be scrutinized in ways they never imagined. The crew's once impenetrable image of loyalty and strength was now under siege. At the same time, snitching rumors escalated, further destabilizing the group. Allegations surfaced that certain members were cooperating with law enforcement, providing testimony or information in exchange for reduced sentences or immunity. Whether these claims were fully accurate or not, they created an atmosphere of suspicion that poisoned relationships and eroded trust. Members began distancing themselves from one another, and even close allies questioned the intentions of their peers. In an environment where loyalty was the ultimate currency, this erosion was catastrophic. The public fallout also added pressure. Fans, social media commentators, and rival crews began analyzing the cracks in DOA's unity. Public perception shifted from awe at their dominance to curiosity and speculation about the crew's possible collapse. Rival crews, sensing an opportunity, moved to assert themselves, escalating tensions on the streets and online. The combined weight of external threats, legal pressure, and internal distrust created a volatile mix that made coordinated action nearly impossible. K-Flock, as one of the most prominent figures in the crew, faced the brunt of the scrutiny. Not only was he responsible for his own legal defense and public image, but he also had to navigate the internal chaos and protect the crew's remaining cohesion. Sources describe sleepless nights, tense meetings, and moments of emotional strain as he attempted to manage both external pressures and internal conflict. Despite his best efforts, the cumulative effect of these challenges proved overwhelming. The final chapter of DOA's story unfolded like a dramatic unraveling that no one could ignore. After months of mounting tension, internal mistrust, and legal scrutiny, the crew that had once dominated the Bronx drill scene faced a series of blows that would redefine its legacy. Arrests, betrayals, and public fallout converged, exposing vulnerabilities that had long been hidden behind a veneer of strength and loyalty. What was once a tight-knit, seemingly untouchable group had become fragmented, leaving fans and rivals alike grappling with the shocking reality of their collapse. The RICO case, which had been looming in the background for months, finally began to exert tangible consequences. Multiple members were implicated, and legal proceedings moved quickly to dismantle the crew's organizational structure. Sources indicate that evidence compiled by authorities included communications, associations, and actions spanning years, all tying the members together in a comprehensive criminal framework. For the crew, what had once been protective loyalty was now a liability. Every connection, every past action, and every trust placed in others suddenly became subject to legal jeopardy. Snitches and alleged cooperation with law enforcement played a critical role in this downfall. Rumors that had circulated for weeks materialized into actionable intelligence for authorities. Members who were previously considered inseparable found themselves facing the reality that allegiances could not be guaranteed. This revelation not only weakened the crew's internal cohesion, but also sent shockwaves through the Bronx drill scene, undermining the perception of invincibility that had defined DOA for so long. Externally, rival crews exploited the chaos. Competing groups moved quickly to fill the power vacuum, targeting former DOA territories, asserting influence over local scenes, and leveraging public perception to establish dominance. Fans and analysts watched as the once unified crew fractured publicly, with disputes airing in social media posts, interviews, and street confrontations. The myth of DOA's untouchable reputation was shattered, and the streets that once amplified their music now echoed with speculation about who would rise next. K-Flock, as the most prominent figure, faced both personal and professional consequences. Managing his own legal battles while attempting to maintain any semblance of unity among members proved impossible under the mounting pressure. Sleep-deprived nights, tense confrontations, and moments of despair were compounded by the knowledge that the empire he had helped build was disintegrating before his eyes. Even fans who had admired his meteoric rise began questioning whether the crew could recover from the damage inflicted by internal betrayal and external scrutiny. Ultimately, DOA's downfall wasn't a single event but a series of converging forces: legal pressure, internal mistrust, rival aggression, and the unavoidable consequences of living in the public eye. What remained was a cautionary tale for the Bronx drill scene. Even the most dominant crews are vulnerable when loyalty falters, scrutiny intensifies, and the pressure becomes too great to manage. The collapse of DOA marks the end of an era, reshaping the scene and leaving an indelible mark on the history of drill music. If this story of DOA's shocking collapse left you stunned, don't miss out on what happens next in the Bronx drill scene. Hit subscribe to stay updated on every development, and smash that like button if you want more inside looks at the rise and fall of hip-hop's most influential crews. Drop a comment below. Whose side are you on? And do you think DOA can ever recover? Share this video with friends who follow the drill scene. And remember, in this world, loyalty, Trust and timing can make or break everything. Stay tuned, because the story of the Bronx drill movement is far from over.